Welcome, everyone. And it's my blessing to be able to speak a prayer of invocation now. So let's all just take a deep breath. Mother, Father, God, Infinite Spirit, we all gather here today on this glorious, glorious, beautiful Sunday morning. We've all followed the nudge, the call, the invitation to assemble here together to hear the true thought in the circle of faith. And so as we come here together, I speak a blessing over all who have come here. I speak a blessing over the many, many hearts and hands that have created this space and readied it for us to make this gathering. I'm grateful for New You. I'm grateful for the Charlie and Tony setting up all of the lights and the camera and the action and the snacks. And thank you so much for all of these wonderful things that have created the opportunity for this beautiful moment, that it is perfectly divine right now. And as I speak this blessing, I know that God is joy, God is light, and God is love. And as that's true for God, it is true for me, it's true for every single person in this space and every person out in the world. And that joy, light, and love, we extend it out through a gossamer web of love. And so grateful I am to know that we are all here together to celebrate this perfect moment. I release this blessing to the action of the law of love, knowing that it already returns fulfilled. And so it is, amen. Amen. So today's reading is from A Course of Love. It's from the beginning of chapter 5 called Relationship. So take a breath with me. This is a little kind of a long one, so. The Christ in you is wholly human and wholly divine. As the wholly divine, nothing is unknown. As the wholly human, everything has been forgotten. Thus we begin to release the known as the one, thus we begin to relearn the known as the one who already possesses all. It is this joining of the human and divine that ushers in love's presence, as all that caused your fear and pain falls away and you recognize again what love is. It is this joining of the human and divine that is your purpose here, the only purpose worthy of your thought. You who have so filled your mind with senseless wanderings and thoughts that think of nothing that is real, rejoice that there is a way to end this chaos. The world you see is chaos, and nothing in it, including your thoughts, are trustworthy. This is why your thoughts must be newly dedicated to the only purpose worthy of your thought, the purpose of joining with your real self, the Christ in you. It is only through union with me that you learn, because it is only in union with me that you are yourself. Now we must expand your understanding of union and of relationship as well as your understanding of me. Union is impossible without God. God is union. Is this not like saying God is love? Love is impossible without union. The same is true of relationship. God creates all relationship. When you think of relationship, you think of one relationship and then another, then one you share with this friend or that, or with husband or wife, with child or employer or parent. And in thinking these specific terms, you lose the meaning of the holy relationship. Relationship itself is holy. Relationship exists apart from the particulars. This is what you can't conceive of and what your heart must newly learn. All truth is generalizable because truth is not concerned with any of the specific details or forms of your world. You think relationship exists between one body and another. And while you think this is so, you will not understand relationship or union or come to recognize love as what it is. Relationship is what exists between one thing and another. It is not one thing or another. It is not a third thing in terms of being a third object, but it is something separate, a third something. You realize that a relationship exists between your hand and a pencil, and when you go to write something down, but it is a relationship you take so completely for granted that you have forgotten that it exists. All truth lies in relationship, even one so simple as this. The pencil is not real, nor the hand that grasps it, yet the relationship between the two is quite real. When two or more are joined together is not an injunction for bodies to unite. It is a statement that describes the truly real, the only reality that exists. It is the joining that is real and that causes all creation to sing a song of gladness. No one thing exists without another. Cause and effect are one. Thus, one thing cannot cause another without there being one or joined in truth.
Relationship. Let's take a good deep breath. As we turn within, we connect. We ask a simple question. Are you there? And then we allow that to wash over us. And what is it that's washing over us? Why, it's love, of course. It's relationship. Thank you, thank you, thank you for the connection, for the guidance, for the union, for the voice of truth, to be infilled in my body and mind and spirit. Anytime we take just a pause, however brief, that's all that's required to keep the relationship going. My wife is, 4,000 miles away, but we've been in relationship the whole time. How do we stay in a relationship? We connected, right? Of course, not so long ago, the technology would not have been available for us to do that. But now, we can stay in relationship, we can stay in connection, we can stay in communication as much as we like. For free, that's even better, right? For free. And we can share FaceTime together, we can share pictures, we can share messages, and we can share our feelings in our heart. And we can share what's going on in our life. And that's all that's required for you to maintain a profound and the most important relationship of your life is to stay connected. To just remember those brief opportunities to, I know, you got a busy day. It's been busy, Reverend Claudia's been on her pilgrimage, and I've been on my pilgrimage, and you've probably been on yours these last few weeks as well. Just a moment to connect. And that's what relationship's about, right? So I have some good news and bad news. The only relationship that's important is your relationship with God. And if you think God is on a cloud somewhere and not approachable and not reachable and can't hear your voice, that's not necessarily good news, right? So, where is God? Where do you find God? Last week, the reading that Beth shared with you mentioned, okay, relationship is what that reading was about as well. And it said, you have to be in relationship. And it's not with your cat, and not with your dog, and not with your tree, and not with your car, and not with your house. It's with your brothers and sisters. Where is God? Is God in all those things? Absolutely. But to see God, to know God, you can only do that in your relationship with your brothers and sisters. So, as the reading this morning said from one of my favorites, I have too many to say this is my favorite book anymore. But A Course of Love is book 2, if you will, of The Course in Miracles. A Course in Miracles consumed my life for about 15 years, just trying to get it, to understand it, to feel like that I had that connection. And that connection came, and that connection remains. And it's always there anytime. If I just take a moment and check in, are you there? Yeah, I'm there, yeah. I'm not alone anymore. I never was, of course, you're not either, right? But I certainly felt like it for decades and decades. Anybody have a relationship that didn't turn out too good? A couple of those? You know, I shared with you, I think it might have been the first time I spoke here, which seems like a couple of months ago now. Reverend Claudia is my 4th wife, right? So I've had a few relationships that didn't go quite like I thought they would. But it wasn't so much that the relationship wasn't going well, is that I didn't know that I had a choice about how I would maintain a relationship. And in the reading today, again, Beth spoke A Course of Love. It mentioned a holy relationship. So I wanted to bring forth some divine feminine conversation today. But as close as I could get to that really is, for me at least, for the last couple of weeks especially, is my relationship with my cat, right? She's been my unbelievable companion through all of this. You know, we moved, right? I was moving from one house to another house, and all of us were, when I say all of us, I mean Claudia and I and the cat. We were all moving, but Claudia wasn't here for the move, right? So my companion through that was the cat. Of course, and other people as well. Many of you have helped me, and I really appreciate it. It's been amazing. But I was going to share that relationship I have with the cat. And when we first met, she kind of found us. Claudia and I had gone to a little retreat. It was just a little house that we rented that was on a sanctuary that was available through a Catholic community out in Tennessee. And so we had this little bitty, like 400 square foot little house with a bedroom, and a bathroom, and a living room, and a fireplace. No TVs, no communications, nothing. And then they had an area where we could take a walk and go through I have no background in Catholicism, but it was called the Station. Some of you may know what I'm talking about, right? And the cat was down there by the sanctuary where they had, and when the last station was down there where the cat was, and she came running up to the lady that was the caretaker there, told her she'd been there for a couple of weeks. And there were no houses around anywhere for miles, really. So clearly somebody had dropped her off, or she had found her way there from, trying to escape something. But anyway, Claudia went down first, and she sat down, and she just came running up to her. And I stood back, but then I came down, and she was just all over us, right? She needed love. She needed relationship. She needed companionship. Laugh or cry. Yeah. They go together. So anyway, Claudia was going to go talk to the caretaker. She said, what do you want to? And I said, no, we're taking her home. We're not going to leave her here. We can't. There's no way. And so she went, and while she was gone, it was quite a walk to the house of the caretaker. She must have been gone for half an hour to go there and talk with her and then come back. And that whole time it's just me and the cat. And so she imprinted with me there, right? And she hadn't eaten in 2 weeks. And the woman had just had gotten permission from whoever the boss man there was, the minister, the Catholic priest. She wouldn't go buy her food until she got permission from the priest to do it. I'm like, really? Okay. So the cat was, was near death, no food and completely domesticated. So there's the food, right? But we didn't have a carrier, it was just come and go with us. And she followed us almost like a dog, would heel. And she kept looking back at that food. But she chose love over food, material things. She trusted us. Been with us ever since. I have a very, very deep appreciation for women. That's why I like True Thought and, the spiritual community, because there's always a lot more women than there are men. I'm just kidding. It is true.
It is true.
Because men are a little bit more stubborn, hard-headed, and all those kinds of things. I'm right in there with them, right? But I have such appreciation for women. Had 5 sisters, and my dad had another daughter, so I have a half-sister, plus the 5, and then 2 stepsisters, so 8 sisters. You have to have appreciation for women when you have 8 sisters. And it goes back, all of this ties back into relationship. So if I can't really, I want to say take things to the next level through my relationship with the cat. And it's a deep love. If you have, all of you, I know, have birds and cats and all kinds of stuff, right? And we get so attached, right? But to know God, to truly know God in a relationship with God, you have to be in union, in relationship, in communication with another human. Because you're a human, right? Cats don't get along with dogs always, but not that they always get along with cats, but they know cats. They know how to be a cat, and they know what a cat is. And nobody had to teach them. We're human, and it seems like we come into the world trying to learn how to be human. At least for the first 50, 60 years, 70 years, I'll speak for myself. It's a long journey. But that's the human side. And in the reading, as Beth shared, the human side has forgotten everything. But the divine side, that is you, has never forgotten anything. It knows all. So how do we get in touch with that self? I mean, that really ultimately was what I kept pushing for when I was first started studying the Course in Miracles and started realizing that, man, there's something here that nobody's ever taught me. There's something I'd never had any idea that could exist. So I spent the first many decades in my life only focused on the human side, right? And some of you may know or may have had a similar experience. But once I got onto that spiritual pathway, I really wanted to get that connection. I really wanted to have that relationship first and foremost. And so a holy relationship, and I've shared with you that when I first met Reverend Claudia, I told her after our first date or two, I said, okay, I've tried human relationship and it's never worked out. It's just not. It hasn't worked out. So can we go into our relationship with a new intention, and that intention is to be in a holy relationship? Okay, so she said, oh yeah, man, no problem. And she didn't realize that I don't think exactly what a holy relationship was at the time, and I didn't either. We can't really know something until we experience it. Does that make sense? I can tell you about something all day long, but you can't really know it until you actually experience it yourself. That's how we know it. So how can we know God? By experiencing God. How can we experience God? We can only experience God in relationship with other humans. You can see the essence of God in trees and flowers and animals, whatever. But to truly experience a relationship with God, it's with another human. That's where you really get to know God. So it's been said, if you really want to know God, have as many human relationships as possible. Know as many people as you possibly can. Get in touch with as many people as you possibly can. And allow yourself to have a relationship with them. And so what is a holy relationship? A holy relationship is simply doing what we've already done several times today, which is to turn within first. So you're sitting with someone, you're having dinner, and they ask you a question, or you ask something that's going on, and you're going to respond. It's checking in first. It's like, are you there? Okay, so what's the right answer? In other words, I'm no longer making decisions by myself. Does that make sense? In fact, ultimately, you get to the point where you're not making decisions at all. Wouldn't it be great if you never had to make another decision? And you could just say, this is what I'm guided to do, because you are being guided to do it. And you know that with no doubt and no uncertainty and certainly no fear, that every response that you have, every choice that you make is divinely inspired, is the best choice, always and always and always. And the only way to do that is to check in first, right? So when we do that, when we check in, we connect. The hard part for me, because I have a very busy mind, you may know what I'm talking about, is to sit down and shut up, right? Is to listen. That's the hardest part for me in my relationship with God, is being willing to push my ego mind aside, because it's just chattering and it wants to fill in all the blanks. It wants to dominate the conversation. It's not, get thee behind me. That's what we're referring to in that statement of get thee behind me. Get behind me. In other words, I'm not going to listen to thoughts of fear. I'm not going to listen to the thoughts of my egoic mind. I'm going to make space. And what am I going to hear? Maybe nothing. And that's disquieting. That's unsettling. But here's some good news and bad news. Spirit has no agenda. It's about being. And the more we can be in peace, that is to be quiet, to be in a place where there's an opportunity to experience the peace that's in nature, to be in a place, take a walk through the wood. When I first met Claudia, she was walking all the time. She's still walking, evidently. You know, I'm, why, you know, why? And I went to see her up in Ohio, and I'm from Tennessee, and I don't like cold weather. And she said, she started putting on all her jackets, and I was like, where are you going? Where's this? She said, we're going to go for a hike. I said, it's cold out. It's snow out there. Why would you get out, you know? No, we want to go get in nature. I have come to love it. She's opened that for me, that door of experience, you know. And I would have always like, no, and now I love it. I absolutely love it. So making space for God, right? So we've talked about the keys to the kingdom in the Way of Mastery, and I point to Rich because we have lots of wonderful conversations about the Way of Mastery and the teaching of the Way of Mastery. If you haven't found it yet, find it. It's easy to find. Anyway, the point is that the first key is desire, and then the second key is intention. And so intention for me is here where what's my desire? My desire is to be in relationship with God, right? So it's, where does God live? Inside me and inside all of my brothers and sisters. So I can, in dialogue with my brothers and sisters, I can have communication with God, and in dialogue, or if you will, in giving focus and attention to my soul, to my heart, now I'm in connection with my higher self, which is the voice for God. As Jesus said, the Holy Spirit is nothing more than your right mind. It's the voice for God, capital V, voice for God. So my relationship with God really came about through my discovery of A Course in Miracles. I started before that with Buddhism and things, but ultimately it led me to my pathway, which is the only way I know how to explain it is an advanced Christianity. right? Christianity that the world is still, for the most part, involved in is not true for me. It hasn't revealed itself as being true. And there was a lot of struggling and lots of, where's the end? I mean, yeah, we're in the circle, we get going in the cycle, you know, we got Christmas and we got Easter, and, you know, we're going around and around and around, but when do we get off the train here? What's the solution? Where's the end? What's the end goal? It's great to be a nice person. Be a nice person. God bless you. Please be a nice person. Right? Be a nice person. And that's something that we can do intentionally, right? But to be in relationship with God, we have to make space for the relationship. To make space for any relationship. You have to make space for any relationship, right? Thank God for you. You made space for True Thought Spiritual Community. You came here this morning. You made space for this conversation. You made space for this vibrational field of energy, of love. And so we have to make the space, and that's really the thing. So we have to have intimate in the sense of, I'm not talking about physical intimacy, I'm talking about spiritual intimacy. We have to have spiritual intimacy with our brothers and sisters. We have to be willing to listen. We have to make space. And I'm using the word have to, and that's not a true word. I don't like using that expression. But we have the opportunity to, right? We get to make space. When we find out how powerful it is, we really rush to it. I do. I rush to it because I want to be in the conversation. I want to be in the energy of acceptance, allowance, and forgiveness. And I find that in spiritual community. This spiritual community we have really tried to separate out the things that don't work and the things that aren't true or that are maybe marginal and maybe we just don't understand it yet well, so we'll leave it aside. But stay focused on what really is true, what really is true. And so we've all heard about the second coming, and excuse me, a lot of people are talking now about, maybe this is the end times, what's going on in the world today, end times. Well, there is no end to time. Bad news there. It's not going to end because you're not going to end, right? So you can forget that little, miserable idea. The point is that there may be coming now an end to the idea that heaven cannot be created on earth. And it has become my personal... You're fine. It's become my personal goal now to do my part to help create heaven on earth. We talked about it a little bit last weekend. We talked about it for years now. Reverend Claudia and I spend almost all of our conversations around this content and around this teaching. And so, and it's taken me years. I'm a slow learner. It takes years for me to get to the point that I could say, get thee behind me and really mean it and know how to do it with power, know how to do it, with authenticity. And it works, right? But I had to learn, number one, what was my desire? Number two, to set the intention, right? And the intention then includes creating an environment that's consistent with the desire. And that intention of creating that environment is really, really important. So I try not to go to horror movies, and I don't play war games on video games. I don't kill people, video games. I try not to kill any animals anymore. I capture all the spiders, take them outside. All the roaches, sorry ladies, right? Capture them and take them outside. I try not to kill anything, right? We now have, and Claudia won't see this till next week, so this is fun. But I was telling my... It's fun, what you're about to say. You think it's fun. I was telling it was yesterday afternoon, and I visited my neighbor at our new place, and we were up on the second level up on the lanai up there, and I'm looking out over a creek. We're living right on the creek edge now, and I'm looking, there's this big guy going down through there, and he's about 12 foot long. What do you think that was? Alligator. Oh, yeah. And I told my neighbor, I said, I can't wait to see, because see, boats will come down through there, and sometimes they'll come down through at night with lights on and stuff, and I don't know, are they hunting alligator, are they hunting snakes, or whatever they're doing. But the point is, I can't wait, I told her, I said, I can't wait to watch Claudia become the champion of this alligator. To fall in love with an alligator. When you wait and see, when she comes back, she's gonna fall in love with this alligator. We now have a pet alligator. Yeah, it's a crazy world. It's a crazy world. Relationship. The only relationship that's important is relationship with God. God is, God is, God is. Remind yourself of that. Anytime that you get into a place that feels dark, okay, just say that. God is. God is. God's got this. I was telling my cat the whole last 2 weeks moving, I got you, I got you. She, of course, was afraid. Who moved my cheese, you know? We are all going through transition, and transition is definitely happening, and it's accelerating. But God's got this. And you have been called upon to be a mighty companion in this transformation to heaven on earth. There's much work to do. There is much, much work to do. And there is not a lot of time for being distracted by things that aren't congruent with your intention, right? And when I was younger, it was really hard to stay focused on anything more than 10 minutes, right? But I'll say that I'm blessed now, a little older, that I know what my intention is. I know what my desire is. Feel like I have been blessed with an environment that's congruent with that. And I just want to stay focused on that. So I will invite you for the first time, I'll say this now out loud, that we got moved in. So Claudia's coming back. So I hope that you guys will come up and visit us in our sanctuary. And we'll sit on our lanai and look for the alligators. Okay? We are in relationship. You know that. I know that. I love that. It's amazing. And more people are coming. Of course they are. Because more people really want to know the truth. And with everything that's going on in the world, sometimes they just need to come into an environment where they can feel like nobody has an agenda. And at True Thought Spiritual Community, we don't have a big agenda. We're just here to share some truth, share some love, let you know that you are dearly appreciated and that you are so important in this second coming of Christ consciousness. It's you. It's always been you. You are the second coming. And I'm honored and blessed and so grateful to be in your company. Thank you for being here today.